everyone has diarrhea. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way to look at it. Everyone, like, that's one of the funniest things that someone told me with a friend. When you see a really attractive girl, just remember that girl had diarrhea within like the past couple of weeks. And it's just like, it makes you like, oh, okay. Yeah. It's like, she's a human just like me. Dude. Yeah. It's great. G'day.
Hey, the man of the hour is in the building. How are you, dude?
Oh, doing well. It's been an awesome day. I actually met with someone from Australia today. His name is Brendan Hopkins. He came out here for Copy Accelerator. He just wanted to stop by in Arizona to like say hi to people, which I thought was cool. Really cool. He just came from fucking Australia. Like, that's quite the trip. Of course, I'm going to meet up with you, you know?
It's quite a skip and a hop. I remember LA, dude, at one point in like 2019, LA was like my second home, LAX. I went there like 9 times in 2019.
From
it was
Australia?
Yeah. To come
How
for,
long is that?
Probably about 9 hours, I think.
Oh.
Something like that. Hours maybe. Just for like business events and seminars. And if you want to go anywhere in America, you pretty much have to go via LA. So it's like nonstop. What's it called? Tom something airport?
Yeah.
Tom Bradley Terminal. That's it.
There you go. Tom Bradley Terminal. That's great.
My second home.
So I think just like the main thing let's talk about, let's just focus on, you know, like I've really signed like a lot of high ticket projects. I think a lot of your guys, if I'm not mistaken, are email guys, right?
Yes.
So I started off in email, and then what I figured out how to do was from there, how to start charging more for email, and then how to start charging more and more and more from there, not just for email, but for taking on other things. Because if you can get good at email, chances are you can also get good at some of the other stuff too. So I think just talking about like the journey and then like how anyone can do it, I'm sure we can finesse some pretty good stuff just in terms of having a conversation about it.
Yeah, dude, I think it's a really good idea to cover that. And then maybe also like just kind of like some of the big mistakes that a lot of freelancers make, freelance copywriters, when they're trying to get clients, specifically like whales, like the higher paying clients, and what essentially is stopping them from reaching 6 figures or, you know, even more in their income.
Totally. Awesome. Well, let's rock and roll. Do you just want to like do an opener with it or whatever?
Yeah, man. Let's just riff.
Let's go.
What do you see? Like some of the freelancers out there, because obviously we both work with a lot of freelance copywriters. What are some of like the common mistakes that you see like a lot of these people making, whether it's mindset or tactical, that are really stopping them?
So there's a dozen, but let's focus on 2. So I'll do one mindset and then one tactical. So the mindset one is that they just don't give a shit. Like chances are the job that you came from, that before you became a freelancer, you were able to not give a shit at that job. Like you were able to just clock in, basically like hungover from the night before, and still be able to like get the job done. And you didn't want to be there. You didn't want to do it. So what happens is there's this like peak excitement when you first start making money as a copywriter or really any freelance skill online. And you're like, oh, this is amazing. But then there's this, I don't know what the law's name is, but where you just get used to it. And what happens is a lot of freelancers think that, oh, like it's just about like sales outreach and that's it. Well, the truth of the matter is that you need to get good results for people. You need to really, really care about your clients. And the fact that some start to get apathetic when people are paying them, when that person is literally fueling your freedom to be able to not have to work a job, is just the most selfish thing ever. That, hey, like, and I'm saying this not as an accusatory way. I fell into that myself, and it's more of me accusing my previous self for it. But like, you just have to care more than everybody else. And like, that's the secret. You have to care so much that the business owner is like, dude, like, it's fine. You know, like it's chill. Like, we'll figure it out ourselves. That's a sign that you're doing the right thing because you care that much about your client's results. That's the mindset thing. The tactical thing is thinking that you're going to get there, like signing a lot of clients and signing big clients all by yourself. One of the best things that I started to realize is that, like, okay, imagine Sean is this 7-figure business owner. Okay. And in front of him is this wall. This wall has been built up over years of people trying to pitch him and years of people trying to screw him over. So it's like, and I'm sure he's even had this with people trying to come on like, hey, I can do this for you. Like people just, they've talked good talk, but then they can't deliver. So they have this natural wall, which is just basically like a barrier or a defense mechanism. And you can try to just do cold outreach, and just break through the wall. And sometimes you will break through the wall because they're just impressed with your tenacity. But the best way is just to talk to someone that's already behind the wall working with that client. So for instance, if let's say that 7-figure business owner, he has a media buyer, you talking to that media buyer and connecting with that media buyer, and you won't know specifically who it is. Oftentimes you can't, but talking with a lot of media buyers will get you those kind of layups, just easy to get to clients because, well, they're going to be like, hey, I need a copywriter, email copywriter. oh, I just talked to Sean the other day. I just talked to Nick the other day and they're doing that. Oh, that makes sense. And then they just refer you and boom, you didn't have to break through the wall. Zero effort. They're just like, boom, here you go. Lay up sale right there. It's the easiest way to do it. But so many copywriters think they have to do everything themselves. And hey, I mean, I get it. It's part of the entrepreneurial journey, that underdog story with it. So I get it, but it's a lot easier to do it with other people.
Yeah, dude, 100%. It's like, as much as I am, a big advocate of like, cold outreach, that's a big part of like my free trainings and my paid trainings. It's like how to do cold outreach correctly, in a way that actually works. We still have a saying in our program. It's like, it's the golden rule literally of CMB. It's like, avoid going cold at all costs. Like if you can get an introduction to the client, for the love of God, do it, for someone who they know, like, and trust, preferably.
Totally.
And I think it's also interesting in that there are definitely ways to kind of have that same effect, even if you're going in cold. So I call it like basically in my opinion or experience or whatever, my model, really the way to do cold outreach properly is like lead with a giving hand plus in-group bias, right? And personalization as well. So if you're going to somehow establish the in-group bias effect with the person that you're reaching out to, you have like 10x, 100x, 50x, whatever chances of signing them, really, of at least getting their attention and getting a response. Because if you have, if they have no idea who you are, you're literally just some stranger on the internet being like, hey man, I can write some emails for you. And they're just like, you sound like the sea of everyone else out there. And it's like, whatever, dude. But sure you can. But if you mention in that first, DM or email or whatever it is that people in common, like, oh, dude, I've heard good things about you from Stefan or from Jacob or from, Wendy, whoever. Even if like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've had a one-on-one chat with Stefan, Georgie, like literally maybe it was a podcast or a YouTube video or like an Instagram story that you saw something good that Stefan said about Mr. Nick Verge. That's still true. It's just a true statement you're making. But now it's kind of like, oh, okay, this guy's like part of our circle. He's part of our tribe. He's like part of the in-group, so to speak. Let me see what he's about. We really haven't evolved that much in the last like 1,000 years in terms of like the whole tribe mentality of, because it's like back in the day, with our ancestors, it was like, if you were part of the tribe, you were basically family, right? You got like, protected, you're one of us and, we'll do anything to save you, protect you. And, we expect the same in return.
Yep.
But if you're out of the tribe, then it's like, you're my enemy. You know what I mean? Like you smell bad, you look bad, like don't come near me or I'm going to stab you with a 9-foot spear. It's like, like, we still have that in us, we haven't really evolved out of that.
So I think also like this is something that I had to piece together. Like the whole point of why we're recording this right now is we want to tell people like, okay, here's how you go start signing way bigger clients. Here's how to start getting better clients. Really what it is, clients that like you can charge a lot more for. So when I started looking at all the projects, like I think at a certain point, I wrote all the projects down that I took on in a year. And I looked at which ones were the highest priced ones and which ones I was able to close the most for. And what were the common traits between them? What I realized is every single one of them were referrals. And there's a reason why. It took me a second to piece it together. But when you're doing cold outreach to the client, what it says is that I need to go to you because I don't have people coming to me. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing to start with. I think that every freelancer to start with, you need to put in that cold outreach work. I was a madman at cold outreach. Like people know Stefan. The reason why I got to work with Stefan on one of his funnels is because I emailed him, I think 20 times in a row. So it was like, and he literally eventually was just like, dude, I love it. Like, I'll just hire you. And now we're like best friends. He fucking loves me and I love him. So it's like, we have like a romance now because of it. It's great. But like the thing was though, is that those referrals, I was able to close them for a lot more because there was also that like that credibility that came from that person referring to me. So a lot of people in this group probably are like a part of Nothing Held Back. They're inside that group with Alan, and Alan talks about copywriting all the time. Well, Alan and I became really good friends because I just started talking with him about psychology, and whenever he would recommend a book to me or whatever, I would read it and just instantly consume it and would get back to him like, oh, dude, did you like with this in the book? What do you think about that? And he started to realize, oh, this kid like is really curious. He's like a young buck and like he wants to learn and everything. And, he's early in this game. And so he kind of started like putting me underneath his wing and give me like free coaching. And, that was cool, but there was a lot that he was helping me with. And I even bought his offer. I bought all the upsells on his offer too, and then critiqued them, like not critiquing them, like saying, here's what's wrong. I said, here's everything I learned about your upsells. And he was like, oh, that's really cool that you did that. And Alan referred me to a project that got me to a celebrity project who I can't even say who it is on this. I can't say who it is because I'm on an NDA. And there's another one we just signed it. Again, I cannot say who it is. It's an NDA. The first project was 38K. This one's 35K because it's just a little bit less work. But like, there we go. It was, what is that? 73K right there off of that I've made from one referral, all because I was just cool with Alan. So it's like, we have this thing where we get kind of addicted to cold outreach. And again, it's so great because it's like, I can just reach out to someone, but how much better is it if that person's coming to you because someone referred them to you? So that's kind of the connection. That's one of the main things that's going to help you start landing higher ticket projects, is just connecting with the right people. Because if you have a media buyer that's charging 10 grand a month for their services, chances are that client is like, they're already comfortable with spending money on contractors. They know that talent costs money. And so they'll pay you a lot more for it. I think that's one of the main things that I started to realize. I was like, wow, like it's just so much better to get the referral and to have it that way, because it's a more of a power thing. Because when you go into a sales conversation from an email outreach, it's like they realize you came to them, but it's like if you're coming to a referral, they're coming to you. So it's like who needs who more, I guess, is the kind of power dynamic.
Yeah, super important. And yeah, man, this kind of ties back to like what we were talking about on our last chat about kind of like how copywriters are, traditionally just like introverts and just want to stay in the little cave and little shell, not talk to anyone, not put themselves out there at all, and just kind of like, be as completely anonymous as possible. Like no one knows who I am. When in actual fact, it's like, dude, without a doubt, the best, not only business connections, business like leaps and bounds that I've had, but also like some of my best lifelong friends have come from just going to like live events, and networking and meeting like-minded, similar people, which only really happens when you put yourself out there. You're putting out a lot of content, and people maybe who are in your city start to see it, and then you form a relationship online, and then you're like, hey, I'm actually in your area, like let's grab lunch or something like that, and just really making a conscious effort to actually like network. It's not like, it's not instant, like, ROI, but it's like, if the more you can grow your network, because it's like, I don't know, maybe they're not a client, but they might know 5 other people who might be great clients. And if you guys just become friends, it's the easiest thing in the world. Literally, you're like, dude, I'm looking for one more client. You have space in my client roster for like one more person. Would you happen to know anyone who might need help with their emails? And they're like, oh yeah, I got this guy. And it's like, bang, it's game over.
Just ask. Like, it's not a bad thing to ask. Like, you can literally just and don't make it the first thing that you talk to the person about. Like, get to know them a little bit, and to become friends with them, chat with them, talk about, like, me and Alan, most of our conversations are about psychology and just random stuff. And like, we don't ever talk, like, we do talk about copy, but like, it's really never about business. But if I were to, and I haven't even asked Alan once about it, he's just sent me business. If I were to go to him and say, hey, I'm looking to take on one more sales letter person this month, do you have anyone that could fit that client position? They would be like, he'd be like, I think I know. And then he would just go ask some people. So it's like, you have to build the friendship before you go for the ask, but definitely go for the ask. Like, worst case scenario is they just say no, and they don't even think of you less. They just, oh, he just was wondering. Like, it's bad if you start with it, because then you come off as needy.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, dude, there's like pretty much a direct correlation to like the size of your network specifically in your niche, but even like outside of your niche. And then really like the amount of business connections and success and clients that you have. It's like, I just think a lot more copywriters, as we were talking about, need to get comfortable with the idea of putting themselves out there and, basically shattering this belief that like they're an introvert. Because it's like I said last time, I was like, dude, I was the introvert of all introverts, which, you might not believe today. If you watch my stories, I seem like some bombacious, outgoing person, always like, always a party and surrounded by like, just like awesome people, like just fucking hot, like half naked girls everywhere. And it's like, that's might be my average, I guess, weekend today. But it's like, dude, if you looked at me, if you knew me in high school, completely different person. Like, I didn't even know how to talk to guys, let alone girls. You know what I mean? I was like in my box. was sitting on the bus on the way to school. I was like, I don't want anyone to talk to me. I was just like, guard up. I was like, if no one knows I exist, like that's perfect. I just want to fly under the radar. And I kind of just realized, I was like, man, not only does that not serve me, but that's not really how I want to live my life. Just like boxed in all the time. I think it's just so much more freeing and authentic when you can just kind of unleash and just be authentically who you are. And then you start to attract, way more people into your life who are a good fit to be there. And I think a lot more copywriters need to just kind of like break this mentality that like, oh, I'm an introvert, so I can only do introvert stuff. And
because like it's that right there. I hear it all the time. I'm an introvert, and they believe that this is a set. It's a belief that it is a set thing, or you're born with it or you're not. That's not how it works. It's like a bed of grass. You either water it and it grows or it dies. So it's like, if you say I am an introvert, what you're doing is every single time you're saying that, you're watering that bed of grass over and over and over again. Of course, it's going to grow super high, and now it's going to be really hard for it to die. But if you consistently focus on like, what are the things that we're telling ourselves? Does it serve you to say I'm an introvert? No, not at all. It doesn't serve you at all. But it's way better to tell yourself that, I am figuring it, like, if you say I'm an extrovert, but then you're like, well, no, I'm not. Well, what if you say I'm figuring out how to be an extrovert? It's a good stepping stone to it. I am an extrovert. I am becoming an extrovert. Like these things. And I think what people think of with extrovert, like, I think you'd agree with me, dude, that it's not about everywhere you go, you're talking to someone at all times. Like when I want to be by myself, I don't talk to anyone. When I'm just like in my own zone, like I go to the coffee shop, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to get work done. I just get it done. That's fine. But it's about being able to turn it on. Like when I go to an event, when I leave the event, most people know who I am. And it's even like the willingness to get on the mic and ask very difficult questions that like everyone's thinking, but I couldn't even think of how to articulate that. That's perfect.
Dude, yes.
Or whatever. Like there's all these different ways to go about doing it. But yeah, you have to become that. That's a stepping stone. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation about how to become a different version of you. That's a much more like personal development kind of conversation. I think kind of a good direction where I want to take this is like, we're talking about becoming. I think it's a good thing to talk about how to become someone that charges way more. So how much on average?
Literally, that was exactly what I was about to ask you. Because I was like, a lot of people watching this, they're probably just like, oh, I've managed to close an email client for $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, or a sales letter for a few grand. Like, what the hell is Nick doing that people are paying him $38,000 up to what? What was your highest one? 50 grand or something?
I had a project that I closed for 70K. And then they backed out of the second payment. And so it was 35K. So I will say that I closed it. It doesn't really matter though. But the biggest package I think I've sold where closed both payments is 50K. So how I look at it as is like, okay, so we have a funnel and we have like, imagine there's your funnel. Like we know that picture of like a natural funnel. That's like, okay, there's like our first upsell or our front end offer, upsell, stuff like that, or just a VSL with the actual like book a call and then like a survey after or whatever. But that's like the middle part of it. Then you have before that your ads, and then afterwards is usually your emails. So notice how I put the funnel in the middle, because these two things, like really for them to succeed, the middle thing needs to be working really well. So the ads could be the best ads in the world, but if they're going to a funnel that sucks, it doesn't matter. Like you're not going to convert them. The emails could be the best emails in the world, but it doesn't matter because you're not getting the right amount of leads from it because the funnel's not converting at the right rate, or you're getting the wrong people through the funnel. So what that means is that the funnel itself has the most leverage in the entire part of the business, the entire business structure. So what I started realizing when I would look at these things was like, okay, what part of the funnel can I handle that has the most leverage? And I realized it's almost always going to be the sales copy, but usually sales pages, sales letters, or VSLs. I started liking VSLs just because I thought they were fun. And it was like a little bit more visual than a sales letter, I'd say. And I like doing the production too, because I had a background in that. So I would just hire creatives for that to like handle the production. But like, because I started, and I just had the right opportunity fall in my lap. Like for a lot of these guys, if you don't have a VSL, like as a portfolio, it's going to be really hard for you to go close one without a portfolio. But what they can do is go close email clients that have VSLs or have sales letters, and then just offer, hey, can I like rewrite one for you? And if it beats your control, pay me $5,000 or whatever it is. Or, if you want to just charge for, I don't know what your relationship is with the client, but you can definitely get one of your existing clients to pay you for it. And that's kind of the stepping stone. You start with like the external parts of the funnel or the external parts of the business structure, and then move to the main internal one. Because then from there, when you have that leverage of it, like look at it like this. Let's say that if a client's coming in to make a VSL and they stand to make it the next 6 months, 500 grand from it, because that's what they've done previous in the past. That's what they want. Why shouldn't they pay me 50 grand? That's more than fair for you to pay me 10%. Like, and especially when you're selling an information product, you have zero fucking expenses really with it. You don't have like cost of goods sold or anything like that. So
it's like no overhead. It's like hosting.
No overhead. It's great. It's the best. It's amazing. It's like tremendous. But it's like, you know, that's how I started looking at it, was like, let me almost be, and this is kind of what we can look at it as, is that let me be the offer architect. I'm coming in and fixing the offer, and I'm focusing more on how to actually get it in a way that it's going to get more people to convert. The funnel architect, the offer architect, whatever you want to call it. But it's focusing on the highest leverage thing inside the funnel, because you can charge way more for it. Because with the emails, you know, the thing with the emails is like, you can definitely charge a good amount for it. Like you can charge 8K for automations. You can charge 10K for automations. You can charge more, honestly, if you just have the right company. But, you know, even with the newsletters, a couple grand a month for that, it's because the value perception is not as high as like a VSL or a sales letter or something like that. So you have to be able to figure out how to make that jump. Otherwise, what it turns into is you're juggling all these clients, and that's just part of the process. I went through that, and it was like, you know, I think it was a good process, and it gave me a lot of writing chops, and heck, I got a lot of awesome freedom from it too. I mean, I was working way less than my old job when I was doing that, and I was making good money, but eventually you're like, I want to make more money. The way for you to make, like, hit that next step, that next level in the journey as a copywriter is you have to learn how to take on the higher leverage projects. That's how you're able to charge 50K for a project, because it's justified. It can't just be that one line you say on the sales conversation that all of a sudden now the person's like, yeah, I think that makes sense. Like, that's not how it works. There needs to be a value perception that this is worth 50K. And it's hard to do that with emails or ad copy or like even just little stuff. Like, you need to be focusing on the big leverage, the kind of what I call the big boy stuff in it, the big boy parts of the funnel.
That's exactly it, man. And I think a lot of people, when they're first starting out, I think email is a great place to start for sure. Absolutely. I mean, it's like a lot less can go wrong in 300 words than it can in like 7,000 words. So, you know, it's like, it's a way easier place to start, emails and ads. But yeah, as you said, it was like, you could be the best email copywriter in the world, but it's like, dude, if the sales page you're sending them to sucks, they're still going to get zero results. And so it's like, I think a lot more copywriters need to make a bit of a mental shift, like mindset shift, from being just the copywriter to more of like a digital marketing consultant. So Absolutely. They kind of like need to learn to, rather than being like an order taker, like, oh, you want 3 emails a week. Okay, cool. I'll give you 3 emails a week. This is how much it's going to be. Like, more of a consultant role where you're like, you're the doctor, they're the patient. You kind of take in, you know, you take a look at their business as the expert and be like, okay, sure, I can do 3 emails a week, but I don't really think that's going to be a huge, you know, lever, mover for you, because you have all these other weak points and weak spots. And I think like our attention is much better focused on fixing this, you know, sales page, VSL, whatever the conversion mechanism it is. Yeah. And, you know, really dialing that in, because that's going to, like, if we can get our conversions from, you know, 1% to 2% on this thing, then we've doubled our revenue. And no amount of like, you know,
amazing emails,
but yeah, a little bit of improved 10% better in the emails is going to make a difference, like, you know, nearly that much. And so I think a lot of people need to learn to kind of have a bit more, like, I guess, chutzpah, like authority, like really to rather than just being like the order taker, like McDonald's, you know what I mean? To being like the person prescribing, like, hey, dude, based on my expert opinion, like, this is what you need. Yeah. And of course, when you're first starting out, it's like,
you'll get to
probably be a bit of imposter syndrome there, but as you get more experience, you need to be that person.
And this kind of circles back to what we were talking about with becoming that person. You just need to be someone that's comfortable asking for what you want. Like, you need to be able to do that. And that is a skill that will just, oh my goodness, like it will not only help you with your business, but it'll help you with dating. I mean, most of the people are guys in this group, but even if it's girls too, like, you know, it's going to help you with dating. It's going to help you with personal relationships. It's going to help you with client relationships. Like, just not being afraid to ask for what you want and just being able to step into that frame, like that to me is kind of what you need to do if you really want to make it work. So it's like kind of the stepping stones is like this. So it starts off, you're going to just do the basic skills. You're kind of just an email copywriter and you're in that box. Then from there, you kind of step into more of like what you said, a digital marketer role, where you're almost like a full stack copywriter, because then you can charge a lot more. And this is kind of the thing. I have a very particular way that I propose projects to clients that haven't already been existing clients before. But I'll pitch them where the project is maybe 25K, but by the time I'm done pitching them, they're paying me 40K for it, because I'm actually stacking on other things that, hey, I know how to write upsells. I know how to write emails. I know how to write ads for it. Why wouldn't I just give them that pieces of copy as well? They're going to go somewhere for it. They need someone to give it to them. So they come to me for it because I'm already working for them. So there's a way for you to upsell so you can maximize that. And then obviously start charging for the higher things. And then eventually it's becoming an offer owner. That's where you get the most scalability. I think a lot of times people want to jump to that. And can you, if you want to, yes. But for a lot of people, when they're like, I don't know, and I don't think there's anything wrong. There's a lot of people that poo-poo people that like go straight to coaching. If you're good at coaching, just coach. Like, why is that a problem? That's the classic entrepreneurial community thing, is poo-poo someone that does something different than everyone else. But how I look at it is, if you don't know what you're passionate about, and you don't know what you want to coach on, well, then yeah, just go start charging way more for your copy until you do figure it out. Like, that's kind of where I think I'm ending up at now. It's like I've charged a shit ton for my copy, and now I'm like, oh, I really like teaching guys on how to do this. So it's like, what I want to be able to do is help them with that, help them with their mindset, help them figure out how to get to the next level. So it's like you'll figure it out along the way, but the first step to be able to finance that journey is start charging way more. Because man, I mean, 8K a month when you were working and doing like 3K a month at your job, I know it's great, but yeah, it will get old over time. And also, like, I don't know about you, man, but I'm not one for settling. I like to continue to grow. I like to continue to get to the next level. Why would I settle? You know what I mean?
I think myself and probably everyone listening is on the same page as you there.
I hope so.
But yeah, dude, I think there's pretty much only like 3 ways to scale as a freelancer or as a copywriter. Like, one, as you said, was becoming an offer owner. So whether that's your own, course, coaching program, or even kind of like SaaS sort of thing, like, what Troy Erickson's doing with the email paramedic, like, deliverability offer, that kind of done for you sort of service. So there's like the offer owner side of things. There's one, just becoming way fucking better to the point where you are like, you're the Stefan Georgi, the Justin Goffs, charging 50 grand for a sales letter, and you only have to do like one a week or one a month, depending on how much you want to make, and you're making 50 G's, 100 grand, 200 grand a month. Or there's like the agency model as well, where if you're just damn good at getting clients, then you just kind of can hire a team and delegate the work to them. Then all you have to do is just focus on getting, more clients. And then, so like, I don't know, let's say you're signing people for 3 grand a month for emails. Like, you pay them 1,500, 2 grand, you pocket $1 grand to 1,500, and then they do all the work. You manage the client relationship, and then you can scale that way.
The thing with that model, though, with the agency model, is I look at it as like, not all money is the same money. You know what I mean? So like, some money you have to work a lot harder for. And the problem with the agency model is that, so there was a thing in America, what happened in 2008 is the entire financial market collapsed. And everyone was saying it was too big to fail. But it was like, no, it was that it was so big that it was definitely going to fail. And this is what happens, I think, when there's this flywheel model where it's like, look at Amazon, like the more clients, the more people that buy from Amazon, the more people that want to sell on Amazon, the better selection there is, the better shipping times there are, the better just products there are, then the more people that actually want to sell on there. Like, it's a flywheel, and that the business just gets better and better and better. But with the agency, the more clients you take on, the worse the service delivery the worse the service delivery becomes, because, and I've talked with so many agency owners about this, where it's like, what ends up happening is you're starting to hire people on, but they don't give a shit about the business as much as you do. And then on top of that, they also, like, they're not as good as you. So now you have to like teach them everything. And now it's like this, having to set up all these systems. So can you make it work? Yes. Like, one of my friends, Aaron Parkinson, he has a very successful agency, and they're doing like, I think close to $500,000 a month just off of that. But I've seen his life, and I wouldn't trade my life for his. I'm cool with making like my 50 to like 100K a month and doing what I do while I figure out my offer stuff. Like that for me is like, you have to realize, okay, which one is the easiest to scale as well? Because some are much more difficult than others to scale, but each one is just as difficult. Like, getting really good is not easy. It also takes investment in yourself and investing in like, people that can show you. Like, You know, I get on calls with Alan Sultanic and I pay him $3,000 a pop just for an hour call, just to be able for him to go over copy with me. And it's like, I'm more than happy to do that because, well, you know, every single time I get so much better with it. So there's difficulties in every single model of scale. That's for sure. There's no such thing as easy scale or effortless scale. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if done right, the agency model can really crush. Like one of my earlier students, his name's Ray Pang. He's by far my most successful. I think he's doing about 160 to 200K a month at the moment with his business partner, Wade Fox. So a bit over 2 mil a year, scaling up to 5. And yeah, I mean, there's definitely like the dude worked his ass off to get there, but it's like now he's reached a point where everything's like systematized. He basically has a team that runs everything for him. Operations are all like dialed in. You know, he has the capacity to handle the client workload without like a drop in quality. And he basically just like sits on his, I don't know what he does all day, but like he doesn't, he used to work like an animal 12 hours a day, like all day, every day. But now it's like maybe works a couple hours a day, chills out. So if you can get it working, you know, you're fucking laughing. But it's like, yeah, I totally agree that most agencies kind of suck, and that the quality of service isn't great. And then you're also paying, like from a client perspective, you're paying a lot more because it's like, if I want to hire a video editor, I could hire the guy for whatever $500 for a project. But if I went through an agency, then I'm paying $1,000 because I'm paying like the markup for the agency to make their profit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like there's pros and cons to it. But.
Yeah. Well, is there anything we should wrap up on? I know you gotta get going here in a minute.
Yeah. Dude, what was I going to say before? When we were talking about, yeah, I think the psychology of people just asking, I think that's the most important thing. It's like, that's something I've kind of like had to learn because I always felt, I don't know, it stems from having, I think just like low self-esteem. Or like I definitely did when I was growing up, when I was in high school. Like I was a fucking, you know, nerd. So I was like never one of the cool kids. You know, I was always just like, I wasn't like bullied or anything, but I was just kind of like ignored or excluded. So that kind of had probably an impact on me, you know, throughout my early years of like teenagehood or whatever, on just kind of like, oh, well, you know, like this has been my part. This has been my history. So, you know, I'm not the type of person who deserves like, to work with this caliber of clients. And so like, I'm not even going to ask. Like, I think so many people just reject themselves first before the client. It's like, dude, let the client reject you. Don't reject yourself first. You know what I mean? The worst, like the worst thing they can do is say, no, like, no, thanks. I'm not looking for someone right now. It's like, did that hurt that much? Like, no, it didn't. Like, are you still alive? Are you still here?
Yeah,
fine. You know,
I'll use dating as an example, bro, because it's such a good example for it. It just fits so perfectly. So this is the funniest story. I'm not going to say this. I'm going to clarify this. Like, we'll make sure that I'm not a psychopath when I tell this story. Okay, so when I first started getting in a day game, and I was just going out and starting to talk to women, you have to first break this thing, which is the approach anxiety, which is like, oh, what's she going to think of me? Oh, it's going to be so weird. Like, you just have to get over it. And I remember I was telling my boxing coach one day, I was like, I'm kind of honestly like, I don't know. I just get nervous sometimes and then I don't talk to them. And he's just like, he's holding mitts. I realize I'm in a gym. I'm actively and willingly getting punched in the face. And he was like, do you realize how ridiculous that is that you're then scared of a girl? And I was like, that's a good point. And he was just like, he's like, is she going to fight you? And I was like, no. And he's like, could you fuck her up? And I was like, what? I was like, no. He's like, so do you see that it's all emotional? There's no like physical side of it. So I'm not saying that you can, the reason why you should fuck them is because you can hurt them. No, what I'm saying is that you realize the pain or the fear is all emotional. So you realize it's not real. It's not physical. There's nothing tangible to it. It's just in here. And what then you start to realize more and more, like when I started talking to girls and I started getting more involved and started dating more and everything, when I talked to girls, I was like, oh, you're like really attractive, but like your life's a total mess. Like not all of them, but there's some like that. Like your life's just a hot mess. So while you seem like on the surface really great, like it's the same thing with clients. Like there's like 7-figure people, a lot of them are just as dumb as 6-figure people. Like it's just part of it. So we put it on a pedestal because on the surface, it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. But chances are they're just like you and me. They're just humans. We all have our flaws. We're not all perfect. Like you can't just assume that. So when you start to look at it as like, oh, it's a human and they can't hurt me. It's just an emotional thing. You get over it. And you're just like, oh, like even early on, my problem was that I was too cocky. when I would reach out to people. Oh, I'll crush your conversion rate. I'm like VSLs that were doing like 8 figures, and I like just got my stars. Like, I'll beat the control on this and everything like that. Like, and that in a sense has its law of diminishing returns. But I would rather be like too cocky than like not confident at all, honestly.
Yeah,
and compensate eventually and bring it back to baseline where you're humble but still confident in yourself. That's kind of the journey, and that's again another conversation for another time. But that's the way I look at it. Is it's sales is no different than dating. Dating is sales. Sales is dating. It's the same thing. You just realize that they're just human beings, man.
Dude, that's so true. Like, literally took the words out of my mouth. I was like, the more like, I guess, semi-celebrities and super successful people and like multi-millionaires and like super hot girls or whatever that I've met, the more I realize, like, when you meet these people, you know, see them online and you're like, holy shit, you have this perception that they're fucking God, you know? And then like you meet them in person and you're like, oh, they're just a chill ass person. Like, when the first time I met Jason Capital in person, I was just like, oh, he's actually just like really cool and chill and just like a person, just like everyone else, you know? He still shits and still like, I don't know, sometimes like maybe pisses and missed the ball. You know what I mean? Like he's just a person, just like you are. They're still like, you know, still go through all the same shit that you do. And I think, the dating example is perfect because it's like, you know, you go out to like a nightclub or whatever and you see these girls who are just angels. They just look stunning. It's like stunningly beautiful. But it's like, you got to realize like they spent like 3 hours doing their hair, makeup, getting dressed, probably trying on like 6 different outfits to like literally look as sexy as possible. And you're judging them based on like their top like 1%. Or even, you know, looking at girls on Instagram or whatever, where it's just like the perfect angle, the perfect lighting, perfect everything.
They take
you're like looking at them like they're some like angel. But it's like, the more, I guess, experience that I've had, and it's particularly living as well with a female housemate as well and having her friends over. And it's like, you see them out at night, but then you see them at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday in sweatpants and no makeup. And you realize like, oh shit, like they're just a person. Like there's, you know, they're like kind of a mess. And you're like, they're not this fucking angel I thought they were. And it's the same thing with prospects, you know what I mean? And business owners, like treat people like people, and you're gonna do well.
But then also like realizing when you put someone above you on that pedestal, you will act like they're above you. But just if you level the playing field and realize like, and a lot of the guys, like, you know, I'm assuming most of the guys in your group are younger.
Yeah, probably mid-20s.
Yeah, mid-20s. Turn the tables. What was that client doing when they were in their 20s? Not shit. So you're probably in a position they are. You need to turn. It's all about frame. Ron Lynch, one of my mentors, he taught me this lesson. It's my favorite lesson he ever taught me on frame. I was staying with him in Austin at his house was called the Swiss Consulate. So I'll just say the Swiss Consulate. And I got to his house right after I got done with a friend for dinner. And my friend had also brought one of his friends. And this friend of a friend, when I had quite the debate during dinner and us going back and forth. And when I remember driving home, just like pissed off, like driving to Ron's house, just like that guy just got the best of me. Cause I can go toe to toe intellectually with a lot of people. And this is something I'm doing my own work on, is like not being so like attached to winning the argument, but like, you know, I'm just a debater, bro. I'm an ENTP is my personality.
I'm the same, dude. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I had to relieve myself from that. And when I got to his house, I was telling him how upset I was with this. And he said, the problem, Nick, is that you set up the wrong frame. And I was like, what do you mean? What's frame? And he goes, okay. And he was like, what time is it? 8 o'clock? I was like, yeah, it's like 8 p.m. And he's like, all right, it's too late to explain frame to you. It's too late. And he's like, let's get up tomorrow. We'll get up at 7 and let's go get pancakes in the morning. Let's go get waffles in the morning. And then I'll explain, there's a really good breakfast place down the street. I'll explain frame to you then. And I was like, oh, sick. And I'm sitting there and I'm like drinking, he made me a martini and I was drinking my martini. I'm just imagining this like from like Pulp Fiction, like a diner where like the lady comes over and like she has like the half cut off pencil and she's writing the whole thing. And like she calls us hun and like gets us our waffles. It's like an old man sitting by himself at the table. Like I imagine this whole scene in this smell of like syrup and like bacon is hitting me. And all of a sudden I come to and Ron's just sitting there grinning, like with a shit-eating grin on his face. And I was just like, oh my God, there's no waffle places there. And he goes, no, there's not. But do you see how me saying that put you in the frame that we're going there? So all that frame is just that position of what's happening. It's like a slot on a film reel. You're just taking that one frame on the film reel. Like that in a nutshell is what you have to realize about overall when you're talking to people and everything like that. Like when you set the frame the right way in that, and a lot of it's just with your mindset. Hey, I'm a young, ambitious person. And this person wasn't like that when I'm older. Maybe that's what you need to tell yourself to realize, okay, like I'm in a position where it's actually an equal playing field. Because most people, when they talk to me, I'm fairly young, but they talk to me every time. Oh, and I'm sure you hear it all the time, dude. Oh man, I wish I was doing what you were doing when I was your age. And it's like, I wish all the time. But it's like, so you see that again, it's like you start to realize that people aren't as amazing as you put them out to be, and that's okay. No one's as good as you think they are. That's totally okay. But when you realize that, it takes away that like celebrity status to the point where you can't actually pitch them or actually get to even selling them anything because you just think that they're like a god, basically. It's a silly thing that a lot of young guys fall into, and I certainly have myself, but you break out of it once you see the real world.
Yeah, I think social media is definitely the culprit behind that in terms of everyone putting out their, quote unquote, 1% best life highlight reel, and you're comparing that to your average daily life, and you're thinking, fuck, like how does everyone else have it so figured out and I don't? You know what I mean? And it's like not true at all. You look behind the scenes, like you get to know how the shit actually goes down behind the scenes, and like it's a whole different ballgame. So
yeah, totally. Everyone has diarrhea. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way to look at it. Everyone, like that's one of the funniest things that someone told me with a frame. When you see a really attractive girl, just remember that girl had diarrhea within like the past couple of weeks, and it's just like it makes you like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like she's a human, just like me. Dude. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. All right, is there anything else we should wrap up on? I know you got to head over to the airport soon to head over to Melbourne.
Dude, I think diarrhea. That's a perfect place to leave this.
The perfect way to end.
If someone was looking to find you online, connect with you, where can they do that? Where's the best place to do that?
My name is Verge on Instagram, Facebook, just Nick Verge.
Just Verge, VERG, like at Verge. That's such an OG handle. Holy shit.
Oh no. No. It's literally my name is Verge. Like so, it's like my at and then my name is Verge because Verge is a.
My name is Verge. All right, gotcha.
That's on IG, and then if you want to get with me on Facebook, it's just on there. It's just Nick Verge, and you'll know me. My thing on the header is the VSL guy, so it's always easy to know who I am. But yeah, pretty much
self-proclaimed VSL.
I did an asterisk on it. It's like self-proclaimed. Yeah.
I love it. Dude, Nick, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I know you're a super busy dude, got a lot of big projects to handle. So this is fun, man. I think our audience is going to get a ton of value from this. And yeah, dude, it's been fun hanging out.
Awesome, dude. I'm pumped. This is sick, dude. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it, man. We'll chat soon.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Later, boss.